Hey, I'm Michael Hooper. We're down here with the FHP podcast at Parliament House in our nation's capital, courtesy of AG1, my everyday health drink. Here to speak to David Pocock, 83 tests, Wallaby captain, father, and now senator. Can't wait to catch up with Dave. Dave, 83 test caps, former Wallaby captain, father, and now senator. And we're in your office down here in Parliament House. Mate, thank you so much for having us in.
Good to see you, Mick. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
It's awesome, mate.
This is
really
strange.
Cool. It is strange.
Really good to see you.
I know that you spent many years of your life down the road training, rugby environment. You'd been a rugby player for, so long in your life, and in particular from when you wanted to, a young kid said, I want to be a professional rugby player. Did you ever see yourself being here at that point?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, I think like a lot of players that go on to play for their country at the highest level, that's what I wanted to do since I was a kid. I remember watching the 1995 Rugby World Cup. That's sort of my first rugby memory, and just thinking as a 8-year-old or whatever I was, I want to win a Rugby World Cup. That's what I want to do. And so didn't quite get there, but yeah, was something that I worked towards, feel like my whole life. And then when it all comes to an end, I guess you just following that thread, the things that you find interesting, and certainly didn't think I'd be in here, but it's a totally different challenge, and you use all the stuff that you've learnt along the way into whatever else you do. So it's been a fascinating insight into something that I just never thought I'd do, but I've actually really been enjoying.
So you never thought you would have done it? But there was threads, wasn't there, when you were a player that popped up that you were, actively involved in this stuff. So it's so cool that you went on chasing that. And rugby kind of did cut short a little bit in terms of, 2020 happens, Japan rugby shuts down. You were playing at that time. Was pulling out then just naturally? You found the next thing. This was already on the horizon, or was it something that you still had to work through to become into this position when rugby did cut?
Well, I finished with Australian Rugby, 2019 World Cup, and the disappointment that was for all of us, but then had the 2020 season in Japan, and you've played rugby there, so much fun. And I don't know, for me going there, you kind of reconnect with, I think, so much of the good parts of rugby, the enjoyment, like very open running rugby, and you're sort of part rugby player, part tourist in a way. Everything's new. You don't understand the language, and so loved that. But then COVID came around, and so we all shipped back to Australia, and it just really felt like it was time. The club was keen to have me back. Robbie Deans was coaching that. I really loved my time with Panasonic. But just kind of knew that this is it for me, and I need to move on to other things. And had actually been working on a project with my youngest brother, a conservation and agriculture project back in Zimbabwe. And so sort of spent COVID working on that, and then in 2021 moved back to Zimbabwe for the year to try and get this project up. And then kept getting hassled by people in Canberra to come back and run for the Senate, and then eventually did that. So I think I was fortunate that I kind of felt like I had something to transition to. I guess we'd all seen teammates over the years when that is your identity and what you've done for so long. A lot of people don't get to choose when they end, and it can be really hard to transition to something else. Whereas I felt like I was particularly when I was in Japan, very conscious of the fact like I'm actually transitioning to this other thing that I love and find exciting, and that definitely helped me make that step from professional rugby into everything else, life.
Just before we go on to the high performance side of the rugby and that fun that you had throughout your career in different patches, obviously, what is it about this that you loved when you started to find that transition?
Politics. Well, I used to joke with my wife Emma after I retired that I spent thousands of hours on these skills that were now useless. You think of all the extras after training. You're there doing breakdown stuff and the timing and getting to your feet, finding the ball, all that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm never going to do that again. But I've spent thousands of hours on it. And then you realise when you get into something like this, well, actually, there's all these skills, work ethic, setting goals, working with a small team. In politics, working with people that you don't necessarily agree with. In teams, there's people have all sorts of different opinions on a whole bunch of things, but you have sort of a common purpose, and you can work together. The biggest thing has been taking feedback on board. I think that's something that I've really enjoyed being able to do is take all the feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, and be able to say, okay, yeah, I can feel your frustration there. I'm actually going to listen to you, and then wade through it and say, well, I think you're right on this. I don't really agree with that. And then really every week try and do things better. So the feedback piece has been probably the biggest thing. And I've been quite surprised. I would have thought people in public life, that's just part of the job, but you actually realise that our political system and the way people come up, a lot of people don't love feedback, and a lot more thin-skinned than you'd think.
So is there good feedback in this environment? Because you get used to it in rugby, right? There's media, there's teammates, there's coaches, there's your own opinion, there's family, there's so many people. You can go on to all the socials and get an understanding from Joe Blow of how you played on the weekend. There's no void of feedback there. Is there a lack of feedback here, or was that what made the transition attractive? There is feedback, or there is opportunity here, and you kind of like that? The continuation of that.
There's so much. Way more than in my experience, way more than rugby, because everyone's got an opinion. But I think that's a good thing, and it's same thing when you're playing rugby. It's really trying to wade through that feedback and work out what is good, what's useful, what's people who are just going to be negative regardless of what you do. There's always going to be people who just hate you. And
how does that feel though? Always someone that's just like, nah, Dave can do no right, Michael can do no right.
It's just life. Yeah. And I think my teams, we're good at sort of trying to look at when things happen, or a bill or what campaign or something, actually sitting down and saying, okay, well, this worked really well. We'll change this for the future. Let's not do that again. And I think that kind of process of constantly trying to get better, that's where I see sport really setting you up for life, where this is just one continuous game where the goal is to just keep getting better and just keep failing at bigger and bigger things, and you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, keep getting better takes me to when we played together, and watching you from a teammate, a competitor, opposition player, someone that always just strove to improve. Where did that come from as a young man?
Well, thanks, Mick. I don't know, I guess it's that internal drive. As I said, as a kid, I wanted to win a World Cup. I wanted to be the best rugby player in the world. That's it's a weird thing for an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid to be thinking and dreaming about, but that genuinely drove me. And my view was, I'm never going to be the most talented, but I know I can work harder than anyone and drive myself. And so I think that was kind of how I did it. And as a kid I used to get really nervous before games, even before running running under 8s cross country. I'd be super nervous, and I realised over time that the best thing I could do for my nerves was prepare well and get to the start of a game and go, I've done absolutely everything I could have done here. Let's just go and try and enjoy this and rip in. And so I think that's part of what drove me, that desire to be the best I could be, but it also the knowledge that I wanted to be able to get to every game and say, yep, I've done everything I can.
I certainly thought you did everything you can. In terms of the scale, did you ever go over, you get to Saturday or you get to the back end of the week and go, oh, I may have pushed it a bit there, or was there a perfect level, or was there a time in your career that you're like, I'm nailing my prep? It was showing up on the weekend. You felt really confident, because you're someone that you didn't underdo, you probably overdid. Was there a level that you sometimes did push it?
Yeah, for sure. I think looking back, particularly when you're starting out, like there's a tendency to want to just do as much as you possibly can. I think one of the things that saves you is you're young and you recover
Robust.
quickly, and you look back and kind of think, gee, when I was 19, 20, 21, like you just a day or two after a game you're feeling a lot better, whereas towards the end of your career it's Thursday and you're still sore. But yeah, I think that was a constant battle, is pulling back and realizing that more isn't always better. It's actually how do you work really smart, do the hard work, but not push it. And
Yeah.
I definitely didn't get it right all the time, and I think it was only towards probably from 2015 on that I think I got a bit more balance there.
I remember never really seeing you do weights. Like you obviously, the team usually has a time where they do weights and certain things, but you ran such a tight ship that you were doing that, with the team, certainly, but you did other weight sessions throughout. You found a real method that worked for you. And I think it's important to ask the question because a lot of kids, you just do what the coach says. And you found a way that worked for your body, and it took a few goes because of injury and different things throughout the time, and then you stuck at it, and then the results were huge. How did you land on that? Is it trial and error?
Yeah, I think trial and error. I mean, I think we were fortunate. We had really good trainers, and I generally liked the weight sessions that were set for us. But there were a few things that I kind of, I don't know, either knew I needed to do in my head, or that was just what I told myself, that I needed to do these things. And so I had a few other things around, like a shoulder routine that I'd do on a Wednesday, and then it's just all the injury stuff that particularly after I had those 2 back-to-back knees, I was always, I guess, more conscious around just keeping strong around their hamstrings, all those sorts of things. And so, it's really not much. It's like an extra 20 minutes of more targeted work, and I always quite enjoyed it. I mean, I think that's one of the things, I don't know, maybe a bit of a weirdo. Like I look back and some of those grueling training camps, I don't know, you look back and you're like, man, that was actually a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's a great perspective to have. And on that perspective, back to, those knee injuries were significant at the time. I mean, Wallaby captain, Lions 2013 rather, 2014, you get 3 or 4 games back, bang, you do it again. And then the next year's a World Cup. And this is off the back of you being Wallaby captain, best player in the world essentially in 2011 at that World Cup. And then time's starting to get a long time between drinks. How did you stay on in that period? And were there times that you were off?
I mean, looking back at the first ACL start of 2013, and I just moved to the Brums. You'd just gone to the Tars.
You kicked me out, didn't you?
No, I think you left, and they went, oh, we need a 7. And you go to a new club. There's lots of expectation. You put a lot of expectation on yourself to prove yourself to your new club, and it was 3 games in, ACL.
Yeah.
But you kind of think, well, it's rugby. I'll come back stronger, and worked so hard on the rehab stuff, and felt like I was fittest I've ever been. 2014, and then same thing. A few games in, did the exact same one again, and that was looking back. There's obviously it's easy in hindsight, the context where you're like, well, actually, mate, you had it pretty good. You're still getting paid. Your family still loves you. Things are going right. But, in that moment, it was tough. And I probably started to, I don't know, I got into this, why is this happening to me? I feel like I've done all the hard work, I've done everything I should have. Why does this happen to me? It was really a conversation with an older friend in Perth, who kind of squared me up the one day. We were sort of talking on the phone, and he said, mate, I think you need to stop asking why me and just say, what can I make of this? This is actually a golden opportunity for you to do something. And that kind of, I don't know, just kind of flicked something in me. And looking back, like, I'm actually really grateful for that time. Like, I learned so much about myself. I feel like I learned so much about life. And after that, it gave me this, what's the right word? Like this newfound, one, determination to come back. Like, there was obviously the 2015 World Cup was coming up very quick. There was a new coach at the Wallabies. I'd been out of the fray for 2 years. But it also gave me a bit of perspective. Like, this is such a privilege to do this thing, and absolutely try your hardest, do your best. But at the end of the day, there's a whole bunch of things that are out of your control, and things happen.
And come back you did. What do you say, you know, if a 15-year-old called you up and said, Dave, I've just had back-to-back knee injuries, it's hard to tell them, mate, when you look back on this, when you're 30 years old, you'll see this is a real time that was good for you. But it's not. It's at the time, it's hard to tell them anything otherwise. What do you say to that person when they're going through it? It is a period of grief that you've got to roll through. What would be your advice for that person?
Yeah, in the moment, that's not what you want to hear. Is you'll look back on this and be grateful for it. I think it's around the framing of, like, this is an opportunity, and what am I going to do? It's happened. I can't change what's happened to me. What I can change is how I attack this, how I work on. I've got more time to actually work in the gym or work on different skills. Your passing, your whatever it might be, and potentially to work more on mindset and, you know, what happens up here. I think back to, you know, the programs you come through as a young rugby player. There's so much focus, and maybe this has changed now, I hope it is, but so much focus on the physical. Like, it's all about, you know, your beep test, your yo-yo, how much you bench, all this kind of stuff, and far less about what's happening up here. And, you know, we all know when you get to the top level, all the other stuff is kind of the same. You know, there's the odd freak who can do incredible things, but it really comes down to your mental approach and your toughness and ability to deliver under pressure. And so I would say to young people, like, use your time to actually do more on that.
It's so funny, the difference between players. When I was thinking, when you said some people can come out and just do it, we both share a position with George Smith, and I reckon he's the only player I've ever seen over my career train pretty blasé, like not train like he's going to play a game, and then consistently play at just a high level, at the highest level. You know, I think for you and I, we had to prepare a certain way to then, in order to have a good day on Saturday. And you have to be one of the most professionals, you know, I think there is. And to hear you talk about that mental side of the game, super interesting. So, you know, before that period, were you thinking visualization? Were you thinking, you know, mindfulness, you know, in a 2011 setting or a 2010 setting? Or did that come about a bit after those injuries?
We've done a bit of stuff with Robbie Deans, I think, brought in a bit of that sort of mental mindfulness stuff, but I'd never really got into it in a big way. I think it was really 2014 when I started to get more serious about things like meditation, visualization when you're injured. Like, you got a lot more time on your hands, and I think, you know, to the thing we were talking about earlier, with just a bit more balance. Like, I think actually realizing that when I'm on rugby, I want to be totally on it. I want to give it my all, but I actually want to be able to get away from it and just be a normal human being around my wife, and not have this thing kind of looming over me all the time. And I think got a lot better at that, and I think that, I don't know, just makes you a better person, and you're able to actually arrive at game day a bit fresher. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Where if you live the footy 24/7, you kind of get to game day and there's, I don't know, it's been a big week. Whereas if you can work hard at training, actually get away, I think, you know, this is something that I learnt a lot from you, actually. Like, I always thought you were really good at being absolutely dogged on the field, and then surfing and riding your skateboard down.
I was only dogged because I was terrified of you coming out getting number 7 jersey, and then I'd only surf because if I wasn't surfing, then I was thinking about you taking my jerseys.
I'd get a call. I'd get a call from a mate being like, "Mate, I'm just here in Manly, and Michael Hooper's on his skateboard."
Yeah, it was the only way to get. Like you said, that separation.
Yeah.
I think is important when you're running at something. Run as hard as you can. And then just get that little bit of separation. And I think mindfulness certainly has a place for that when you can turn up on game day and go like, look, I don't know what's going to happen. You could get that first kick off and drop it straight away. But so what? There's still 79 minutes and let's just try and have fun. I was so interested when you started talking about going back to Japan and the idea of having fun. I think there's something that, I certainly lost when you're so focused on outcome. The best analogy I have for it is, and I'm a terrible golfer. Are you good at golf?
No.
Okay, we share that for sure. Like the harder you grip the club, it's almost like you're never going to hit it well. The looser you grip the club, it's going to swing off into the... but if you hold it somewhere right in the middle, and I'm not a good golfer, so this might be a terrible analogy, but you're holding it the right amount, which means you're prepared, you know your swing, and then you just go, look, I'm going to hit this and follow through, and then usually you have a much better outcome. And I think it's like that with performing. It's probably oversimplifying the amount of the body of work that you had to put in and, myself and others had to put in to get to a good level. But I think it's something like that, maybe.
And I think the other big thing that, again, like you only learn this stuff, well, I only learned it towards the end of my career, unfortunately, but was how you deal with mistakes. Like I was the kind of guy who, you could play a good game, what everyone says is a good game, and then you're up lying in bed at night at 3 a.m. thinking about that one dumb thing that you did, the one mistake. And it was only really, probably those last 5 years to actually bring in a framework where after a game I'd sit down and say, like, what did I do well? What didn't work? And what do I want to do differently for prep this week? And just writing that down, I could then go to lie in bed, and it's so hard to sleep after a game, but lie in bed and think, damn it, I missed that tackle, or I did that, and think, I've written it down, I'll get onto that this week. And I found that really helpful. And that goes to, in a game when something happens, you drop a ball, you aren't where you're meant to be, you forget a line out lift or something, actually saying, well, just next thing, what's important next, and onto it rather than dwelling on that one thing.
Yeah.
And I think the best players, like, they just move to the next thing, right? They just seem to forget about it.
They're able to shake it. I certainly know the worst games I played was when you try and almost make up for
and
a mistake.
And you're chasing that.
You chase it.
Yeah.
It's gone now. What's this next moment need of me? Hey, tell me, when you sit in a day of parliament or, a big sitting, do you ever go home and do you struggle to sleep after sitting in here after a long day or something you said or anything like that? Is it a different kind of pressure?
Nights, events at night, sometimes. I don't know, it's just like that. How do you go when you're commentating in the evening?
I am able to go home and go to sleep. You're still a little bit wide because you've got to be live, but you don't have the scratches.
Yeah.
You don't have the, oh God, I wish I had that opportunity to do it differently. I think, and you do with age, like you said, you get a little bit like, okay, well, I know I'll get better, I'll work on that, I'll go back to what it looks like, but when, you might only get one opportunity, like, God, I would have liked that. And the outcomes seem so close to you. I think the pace of life away from sport on the field is, everything seems to have cause and effect, significant in the moment, minute after minute. If I didn't drop that ball, I would have scored that try. If I made that, I didn't give away that penalty, we wouldn't be standing under the sticks. I think life kind of moves a bit slower. Maybe not in here. Maybe
I think that's been one of the big things is when you're playing sport, you have that weekly test where you see where you're at. You win or you lose, and your performance gets rated. You do your review, and then it's next week, and you're kind of into it. Whereas this, like most of life, is an infinite game. Like it's ongoing, and so how do you keep that kind of fire going and that momentum, and constantly want to improve, but not necessarily have that. I guess for politicians that's the election, where people tell you if you're doing a good job or not. But outside of that, and yeah, it's a really rare thing when you look back on it, and you just think to some of the team meetings and just how brutal some of the feedback was in front of a whole group. You think, wow, that's not how most workplaces function.
But no more brutal than you would have been in your own head, lying in bed
No,
night after a
but-
game, because
yeah.
like, you want to be best player in the world, and I shared that same
Yeah.
aspiration, winning World Cups, and be the best player in the world.
Yeah.
So you're probably as hard on yourself, than anyone else. And do you? To have that type of a goal seems really tangible. Like what's the goal like in here? What's high performance look like in Parliament? Is there such a thing? I mean, this is going to be a long question because I've asked two already. But to add to that, like, is there a you're best centre in the world or something like that? Is there a real clear goalposts in here like there was before?
In short, no. I mean, you're not. It's not that same setup. Obviously, it's very different. But I think there's a whole bunch of different parts to it that I think about. One is just the way that I try and commit to doing politics, and that's a commitment to people I represent here in the ACT, some in Jervis Bay, Norfolk Island, is that I genuinely want to represent them. And when I vote in the Senate on anything, that's not my vote. That I'm voting on behalf of people, and I think that's something I take very seriously. There's obviously then the issues that Canberrans care about, and I want to really make progress on those things. And then there's a few bigger campaigns that my team and I have been working on, and you kind of want to just keep pushing them and creating enough tension in the system that the government of the day or the Parliament finally says, actually, we're going to do something about this. And so, that could be like something like a gas export tax or lobbying or whatever it might be. Like, we've been pushing on those things for years now. And I think on lobbying, we just got an announcement this week that they're going to make some changes. But yeah, it's not that weekly. You won, you lost, you played well, or you didn't, or you were okay. But there's no shortage of feedback. People are constantly telling us how I'm going and what they'd like me to do or not do. And yeah, it's taking all that on board and continuing to try and do it.
And so what you're saying there, aside from some of the political stuff, is your leadership is one of service. You represent this group of people that have voted you in to go and do your thing. Has that always been the way you've viewed leadership? As a player, as a captain, and now in here?
Yeah, I think I look back on my time in rugby. I think the best advice I got on leadership was from Robbie Deans when he said to me, just drive what's best for the team. That's what it's all about. And I think anyone who's played professional sport knows that individual achievement is just such a myth. Like you think back to all the sacrifices that were made by your family to actually get you to that point, to give you those opportunities. And then in a team, the physios, the trainers, the coaches, and that's very much how I approach politics. Like, it really is a team effort, and rely heavily on my team. We talk about things. We welcome dissenting views. Ultimately, it's got to be my decision because I'm elected to do it. But that's what I enjoy too, is being part of a team like that.
Self-made's a bit of a myth, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. And I mean, I think anyone who's achieved anything will tell you that. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, what are you doing now in terms of a training regime? Is there sport in Parliament? Is there, you just had a sauna before this and you came out here, we cooled down a bit before we got on camera. What are you doing now? Does any of the former David linger still in what you do here, physically?
I always feel like I'm not doing enough. And it's been I don't know what it's like for you, but it's such a rude shock going from, being paid to train and staying fit to then having a more than full-time job and trying to fit it in early or late, or, maybe sometimes like today during the lunch break, we've got this committee hearing all day. So I don't know, I feel like I'm just doing just enough to get by and stop my body from falling apart. But that's basically just some cardio, so that's pretty light, kind of, more bike stuff, the odd run, but not too far. And then just general weight stuff. I really should get a proper program.
Dave, if this is you without a proper program, I think we're all in. Jules over here is having a crack up, having a laugh. Because you look in pretty good shape, mate. Thank you so much for the time. We could honestly talk all day. I'm aware that we try and keep this pretty neat and tidy, and you've got plenty of things to do. But I just wanted to dig into one question, because you've gone from a life of certainly wanting to chase those goals as a rugby player, service as a captain, service now in the work you're doing in here, and making a real, my mates and where I'm living at the moment, people are hearing what you're saying, and it's, I think, really great to hear someone stand up and say what they believe in, and there's nothing more compelling when someone actually has a real strong view and represents it proudly. And I think you did that as a player, and you're doing that now. But I have to ask you this question. I'm going to have to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. But so after rugby, public life, leadership, everything you've done, what are the things you're doing today that you'd still do if no one ever knew about them?
On a daily...
Yeah, wherever you want to go.
I mean, I've found even just a short meditation to start the day, a great way to start the day. So I'd still be doing that. I love exercising outside. I'd still be doing that. I don't know. I just find moving and getting outside, even in Canberra where it's cold during winter, getting out, getting amongst the trees, going for a walk, those sorts of things. Spending time with family. I don't know. It's all those things that I think, when you strip it all back, are the things that really matter. That human connection, the connection to the places we live. So I don't know. I think I'd still be trying to do those things. I don't know what else.
I like the question because when we're driving down here, my brother's lost a bit of weight. He'll hate me for saying this. He's lost about 14 kilos, and he started doing a bit of CrossFit. And it's like, how do you know someone's a CrossFitter? It's like, don't worry, they'll tell you. So I always think that's a funny one, because would you still go out in the morning and do your mindfulness? If you come in here and tell everyone you did it? But it's certainly something that gives you the ability to come and attack the day and do the things you're doing. Does it just clear your head and get you ready? And what is it actually?
Yeah, I find that you get up and I guess the way my team work, I'll be looking at the news and seeing what's happened, and you can get out of bed and the first thing you do is reach for your phone. And I find, unless I actually put some hard things in place, like some non-negotiables, I'll just do that. And then you start the day with your phone, you end the day with your phone, and it's like, I don't know, I don't want to live like that. Yeah. It's actually saying, okay, well, in the morning, I'm going to get up, make myself a coffee, actually just sit for 5-10 minutes, and then get into the day. I don't know, it kind of gives me that little pause.
Because, man, some things could happen overnight in your world, hey? That just, you wake up, and if it's the first thing that you do when you wake up, your brain would be on.
Yeah, you're kind of into it, and I don't know. In some ways, it's a bit of a trap. You get sucked into the 24-hour news cycle rather than thinking about some of the longer term things, and I think that's one of the frustrations people have with politics at the moment, is it is kind of pretty short-term thinking rather than the longer term, like how do we actually, what do we want as a society? Like what's good for all of us? How do we start heading that way?
Well,
what do you do? What are your...
Yeah, same thing. Usually I'm waking up and my wife and I have played musical beds all night because, we're moving around the house with different kids waking up. So if it's Tommy or, whatever, the sleep's absolutely gone to pear-shaped, mate. So, no, but same thing. Try and get up, walk the dog, do those things, not look at the phone, have a coffee. Sets the day up. But, mate, from, two former players, seeing, we didn't actually speak too much on it today, but you did touch on the transition away from rugby, and it's, we see it in mates that we played with. It can be tricky, and it's tricky for everyone in its own way. The rhythm of the world changes. Like you said, you turn up on Monday, you are super clear on what you need to do all week to get to Saturday. And, you know, without, you don't have to touch on this if you don't want, but to see someone who's done what you've done and move that into a, you know, different world and do it in such a great way, like I just mentioned, it's been really fantastic for us all to see, and, you know, stay true to who you are. It's been fantastic, and really appreciate your time in doing this today, mate. In the office, coming down here in Canberra, it's it kind of felt like a stadium when we parked underneath and we walked up. I'm like, Dave doesn't change at all. Just, you know, go through security. You know, it's all you know, it's still same but very different. So congratulations, mate. It's awesome.
Thanks,
and a father as well must also make you happy when you have a big day in here and maybe you're not getting the movement, or there is heaps of movement, and then you go home and you're still dad.
Back to reality.
Yeah, the work starts.
So good.
Awesome, mate.
Thanks, Hoops. Thanks for having me.